got you covered. This is 19 News at 5.
A special visit from a Ukrainian bishop to La Crosse Catholics. And Wisconsin sends volunteers to help families displaced from the California wildfires. Also, 2 major fires over the weekend happening here, breaking out at almost the same time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Heather Armstrong. Well, tonight we're learning the identities of the 2 men that were killed in an equipment accident. It happened over the weekend. According to the Trempealeau County Sheriff's Office, 63-year-old Douglas Pass and 61-year-old Ryan Pass were in the basket of an aerial lift trimming trees on Emerson Road in Galesville when the lift tipped over. The Galesville Police Department and first responders arriving on the scene to find both the men deceased. Now, police say the lift was positioned on a slight slope when it tipped over. Investigation into the incident is now closed. Well, it was a busy weekend for the Onalaska Fire Department after they got 2 calls, which both ended up being major fires. Now, one of those, a structure fire. It happened around 3:30 Sunday morning at N6200 County Road XX. That's the headquarters of Strupp Trucking. Onalaska and Holman crews actually responding to a different fire on Bryce Prairie. When that call came in, well, they worked with a handful of other departments to get that fire out using more than 100,000 gallons of water. They got it out by early afternoon. No injuries reported, but the building, a total loss. The cause still under investigation. An Onalaska home also destroyed over the weekend by a fire. Crews were called to the home at 2122 Craig Lane. That's Craig Lane East, that is, just past 7:30 Saturday night. Now, Onalaska Assistant Fire Chief Jeremy Southworth said they found heavy fire coming from the garage that spread to the back of the home. All 5 people in the home were luckily able to get out safely. Also, no word on a cause. Well, crews are racing to try to get ahead of the winds before they pick back up again in California. ABC's Melissa Adon is in the fire zone in Altadena.
Calmer winds over the weekend allowed crews to put out hot spots and fight the fires from the air. You can see the containment line, a red line, fire retardant helping keep the flames at bay. The burn area inside still smoldering. But today, new red flag and high wind warnings are in place for much of Los Angeles and Ventura counties. Wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour now in the forecast Tuesday and Wednesday. The National Weather Service issuing a PDS, or particularly dangerous situation warning.
The anticipated winds combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
Officials have not yet determined causes of any of these fires.
None have been ruled out of arson. There are ongoing investigations.
We have a very big problem. Some Altadena residents recording video as they escaped the fires last week. Beyond the tree line, that's an electrical transmission tower. Another shows what appears to be a fire at the base of the same transmission tower. Edison International saying it hasn't seen evidence of involvement of its equipment in the Eaton fire, but that they haven't yet been allowed by fire authorities to inspect the site.
Typically, when there's a spark created by equipment, you will see that kind of electrical anomaly. We haven't seen that.
A dusk to dawn curfew in place to protect homes from looters. There have already been some 36 arrests.
The criminals have decided that this is an opportunity, and I'm here to tell you that this is not an opportunity. You will be arrested.
LA officials from the mayor to the fire chief say they're better prepared for this round of Santa Ana winds this week, saying they have sufficient resources from local firefighters, other states, and even countries, and have already pre-positioned strike teams. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Altadena, California.
And right now, the American Red Cross of Wisconsin has 5 volunteers and 3 employees in California. One of those workers is at a shelter in Pasadena. She says nearly 500 people, as well as 11 dogs, 6 cats, and even a bird are staying there because their entire community is gone.
Not only have you lost your own home, that sense of community, those people you've always known and been connected with, they've lost churches, they've lost synagogues. These are anchoring facilities that are beacons as far as communities. So the fact that those are not physically there can be incredibly jarring and hard for people to really wrap their heads around.
The chief of CAL FIRE says toxic ash, gases, and unstable buildings are potentially a lethal threat to returning homeowners and factor into authorities' decision to whether or not to allow people to go back into that zone right now. Well, it's more cold on tap for the next few days, but eventually we get a little warm up. Meteorologist Jeremy Landgrebe joins us now with our first forecast. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Heather. And yes, we do have a warm up on the way, but we got to get through the next about 24 hours of colder weather. You can see the high temperatures today at 13 degrees in La Crosse, Viroqua at 12. And everyone's seeing just the teens and single digits. Right now here in La Crosse, we're at 10 degrees. Feels like -3 with those northwest winds ranging from about 5 to 15 miles an hour. You take a look at those wind chills, all in the negatives for much of the area. You do have Sparta at 8 and Winona at 1. And those winds, again, from the northwest between 5 to 15 miles an hour. We'll continue to see that for the rest of the tonight. Seeing wind chills down almost as low as about -20 degrees with a low temperature at about -2. But as we get into more of the middle of the week, we'll start to slowly see warmer weather and eventually have temperatures well above average. I'll more on that in about 15 minutes.
Thanks, Jeremy. Today marks 4 weeks since the deadly shooting at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. A teacher and a student were killed. Chloe Morrissey spoke with the director from the Office of School Safety to learn more about what's next.
ALCS students and staff are back for their second day of school after the deadly shooting that took place here 4 weeks ago. The Office of School Safety is guiding the school community through this next phase. OSS has given resources to ALCS to aid in this recovery period, helping staff understand different ways to talk to students after a traumatic event, different coping strategies, and even training staff on how to continue teaching in a way that is productive and healing.
To me, they are doing the heaviest work of all, the most important work of all, but I see a great sense of pride and community in them providing that for their children.
Office of School Safety Director Trish Kilpin says ALCS is in its early stages of recovery, a process that takes time, but she says she's optimistic for the school community.
Most youth exposed to crisis, when they have appropriate support, they do heal well and recover, and that's what we anticipate for this community.
Kilpin emphasized just how important it is for the school to be supported now and in the future. Healing is not linear and can take months, even years. Kilpin says it's important to keep up the support as long as the school needs it.
People care about the experience at Abundant Life and people want to help. And that is not lost. That community cohesion is really important.
The Challenger family is still experiencing a lot of hurt as they make their return to school, but safety and security remain top of mind. In Madison, I'm Chloe Morrissey.
And today we're learning that a surviving spouse of Ryan Colligan is suing Osman Shrine and Shriners International after her husband died crashing a stunt car just before a parade in the Crescent last August. According to the lawsuit, shortly before a parade on August 10th, Colligan was required to ride a stunt car that he'd never used before that was owned by Shriners International. When he tried using the brakes, well, that cart flipped and caused Colligan to hit his head on a curb and lose consciousness. Though he received medical attention right away, Colligan passed away later that day at Gunderson Health System in La Crosse. According to the lawsuit, he wasn't given the option of wearing a helmet. The Colligan's heirs are asking for judgment against the two organizations for an amount greater than $50,000. Well, the La Crosse Area Development Corporation, or LADCO, got together this afternoon for the 53rd annual meeting. Now, LADCO is an organization that works to promote economic development and quality of life in the La Crosse area. The 53rd annual meeting is a chance to look back at the last year and then celebrate the successes of the region. For the executive director, that was helping a business not only stay in the area, but expand.
Companies like LADCO who really try to work behind the scenes to connect businesses with resources. And that's really the foundation for everything. So our quality of life, our parks, all of our great things that we have here, the spending of that comes from the economic vitality that we see with our businesses and the people that live and work here.
And he also said that the area is still working to recover from the pandemic, gaining momentum, though, this past year. But he says for businesses of all sizes, the workforce is still a challenge. Well, the farmers market is moving forward to Burns Park across from the main library. The Board of Public Works voted 5-0 in favor of the change from its previous location of Cameron Park. The La Crosse Farmers Market Association made the request using the park on Fridays from May through October. A Ukrainian bishop paid a visit to La Crosse, sang a mass at the church located at the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Bishop Vitaly Kristovin spoke afterward about the current situation in Ukraine as the people of his homeland continue to fight and stand against invading Russian forces. He spoke to the resilience of faith in these difficult times.
І тому сьогодні віра втомлених людей, вона є дещо іншою, ніж та віра, яка була 3 роки назад.
So today faith of these people that are tired is a completely different faith than it was 3 years ago.
І я завжди підкреслюю, що ми є сьогодні втомленими, але не зневіреними.
So I always like to underline that yes, it's true that we're tired, but we're not discouraged.
Well, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine that began in February of 2022, some 43,000 soldiers and just over 12,000 civilians have been killed. The Minnesota State High School Baseball Coaches Association announced the 2025 Hall of Fame class this past weekend at Target Field. One of the 7 people honored in Minneapolis was the Crescent native Rick Boyer. His wife Susan accepted the award on his behalf. Rick graduated from La Crescent High School in 1970, then went on to play baseball at UW La Crosse. He spent 45 years coaching baseball, 17 of which he was the head coach in La Crescent. His final season in 2020. Now, during this time, as a Lancer, his teams won various conference and section titles, including winning the state tournament in 2002. Now, Rick passed away in 2021 at the age of 68.